It is September the 17th. 49 days remain until the American people decide who sits behind the Resolute desk. Donald Trump, the adjudicated rapist and convicted felon, or the Vice President of the United States? This is the warning. Donald Trump has survived a second assassination attempt, joining President Ford, who survived two in a few weeks in August of 1975, one in San Francisco, one in Sacramento. How should we think about this violence that has come into the presidential campaign? The first question we should ask ourselves as Americans is, has the nature of our civic discourse changed since Donald Trump came down his golden escalator? If we were to look at that moment as a hinge, a before and after event, are we able to observe any changes in our society, in our culture, in our media, in our political parties that followed Donald Trump gliding down that escalator and denouncing Mexicans as murderers and rapists?
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
What was the meaning of that quote? What was it that Donald Trump was trying to do? Was he trying to instigate violence against Mexicans? Was he trying to instigate violence against the Central Park Five when he called for their execution? What exactly is it that Donald Trump was trying to do here?
I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did.
How could any American look at Nazis marching, chanting, "Jews will not replace us," carrying torches in Charlottesville, Virginia, and come to the conclusion that there are good people on both sides? Let's talk about some more of Donald Trump's good people, peaceful people.
There was such love at that rally. You had over 1 million people there. They were there for one reason, the rigged election. They felt the election was rigged. That's why they were there. And they were peaceful people. These were great people.
It is extraordinary that Donald Trump has such power over a population in this country that he's able to say that this violence was perfectly peaceful, a beautiful protest. This was not a peaceful event on January 6th. It was incited by Donald Trump. Donald Trump lost a free and fair election and had the greatest temper tantrum in human history that's lasted for years. And he sent a mob in the United States of America to topple the government in the Mar-a-Lago putsch. Donald Trump tried in spectacularly stupid fashion, but he tried to make himself a dictator. Over and over again, Donald Trump has summoned violence. He has called for protesters to be shot, for immigrants to be attacked, for people at his rallies to be beaten and punched. So when examining this record, it is astonishing to see his running mate, J.D. Vance, say this.
I do think that we should take this opportunity to call for a reduction in the ridiculous and inflammatory political rhetoric coming from too many corners of our politics. Look, we can disagree with one another, we can debate one another, but we cannot tell the American people that one candidate is a fascist, and if he's elected, it is going to be the end of American democracy.
Everything that J.D. Vance just said is absurd on the basis of the evidence of events and the record and the things Trump said. But what makes it thermonuclear in the hypocrisy category isn't anything that Trump has done. It's what occurred within the last 48 hours on CNN with Dana Bash interviewing J.D. Vance.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana.
Sir, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you
Yes.
created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it.
This extraordinary moment is unlike anything I've ever seen in a television news interview. In fact, there's only one comparable moment that I can think of from my lifetime that equals what the American people got to see Dana Bash do to J.D. Vance. Tom Cruise as Lieutenant Caffey, questioning Colonel Jessup in A Few Good Men. When Nicholson finally breaks and says, "I did it," the Tom Cruise character is flabbergasted. For 10 years, reporters have been asking Donald Trump questions. Most of them result in absurd responses or inane responses. He was asked the other day a question about crypto, and he talked for 5 minutes about electricity.
Well, it's crypto, it's AI, it's so many other things. You know, AI, speaking of an interesting future, it needs tremendous electricity capability beyond anything I've ever heard. It never made sense to me, but this is what it needs. If you take all of the electricity coming out of the U.S., in order to have it to be dominant in AI, you need twice that amount, just for this one thing. Who would think that? You need twice the electricity we already have. And you got to get started. I mean, you have to be, if you're the U.S., you have to get started. Right. You don't want to be left in the dust. And China's already building electric plants, and they want to build them for the AI, and it's very important. But you need tremendous electric, and in this country, because of our strong environmental impact statement problems that we have, China doesn't have those problems. They don't do them. They just build. They said, build over here, build over there. With us, you have to go through years. But I'll make it possible to create tremendous amounts of electricity very rapidly.
Donald Trump has always been light on the facts. He has always been incoherent. A long time ago, it became clear when he speaks, mostly they are the ramblings and musings of an imbecile. Incoherent doesn't begin to describe it. But the parts of the Trump message that are always clear is the malice and the menace and the intimations. But at any rate, back to J.D. Vance, back to Dana Bash.
Nobody is disputing that the town of Springfield, Ohio, needs help. But you're not just a bystander. You're the senator from Ohio. So instead of saying things that are wrong and actually causing the hospitals, the schools, the government buildings to be evacuated because of bomb threats, because of the cats and dogs thing, why not actually be constructive in helping to better integrate them into the community? Because there are a lot of employers there who say that the Haitian workers are helping fill jobs that they need desperately filled.
Dana Bash has spoken to the mayor of Springfield, Ohio. His town is under siege by bomb threats to the schools, to the hospitals. And what the mayor has said is the bomb threats haven't spontaneously appeared. They haven't been providentially assigned. They didn't just combust into being. They are a consequence directly of the rumor that Haitians have taken over the town and are eating the pets. A United States senator from the state of Ohio, upon learning that a mayor in a town is begging Trump to stop it because a sick person may act on the derangements that they're hearing, J.D. Vance says, it's okay for me to make it up because this is the only way I can help the people suffering in Springfield, ignored by the national media. Think about that. This is straight out of 1984. What J.D. Vance is saying is that in order to free the village, it must be destroyed. It's absurd. It's sick. It's an evil. It's a deception. And it's triggering violence in the community of Springfield. But now the MAGA movement has decided that they are messengers of peace.
Their rhetoric, it's not just over the top. It is potentially deadly. We need to see it toned down, starting on the left.
They've got to tone down that rhetoric. The whole, Joe Biden, we're going to put a bullseye on Donald Trump. That has to end.
Rhetoric is out of control. It is dangerous.
The rhetoric is every day, all day. And as it's directed against President Trump, it's saying that he's a threat to democracy, that he's going to destroy America. It's absolutely absurd, and it is irresponsible.
If anything happens to Trump, there's going to be a lot of sorrow and a lot of pain and a lot of anger, but there won't be looting, there won't be rioting, there won't be crime because, we get up, we go to work, we try to be good people.
What Donald Trump and his people are rooting for is not peacefulness, is not a lowering of the temperatures, but for more violence, for the violence to spread. What they are upset about is a sick person hasn't yet pointed a weapon at the first black woman to be a major party nominee. It's exactly what Elon Musk said. But of course, as he routinely does, he deleted it. Just joking. Haha. This is a country that's one of the most violent in the world, and it always has been. Our destiny has been shaped by political assassination, which is amongst, if not the worst crime a citizen can inflict on democracy, because in the end, the right of the people to commit national suicide must not be taken away by any single citizen. Only the American people can stop Donald Trump. And the moment to stop him is in the election. Donald Trump is not a fascist because it's convenient to call him one for the purposes of winning the election. Donald Trump is a fascist because he embraces fascism. He embraces the concept that there is nothing that matters but the state. The individual is but a pawn, and freedom is not about the right of a human being, but the prerogatives of a group to dominate. That's Trumpism. It's an evil ideology. It is an ideology that seeks to take away the rights of people to control their lives and their bodies and to impose a dogma on free people. It is the greatest threat to the American citizen since the Confederate States and since fascism in the 1930s. And these assassination attempts must not blur the clear lines or inhibit the Harris campaign from painting clearly the boundaries at the fork in the road that decide whether we go down a path of national rejuvenation and renewal that leads us to 21st century greatness, or whether we journey down a path of national catastrophe. We are at that choice now. Donald Trump is a man of violence whose rhetoric has brought to him a terrible malevolence. He has inflamed our politics, profoundly changed it, weaponized our differences into a cold civil war. And now they dare to try to choke debate about what it is they said, what it is they've done, what it is they have planned, because the violence they have curated has found its way back to them in a boomerang. We must reject this absurdity. We must pray for peace in this country. We must spread love in America, but we must be tough and strong in the face of this fascist threat and never, ever, ever be intimidated or inhibited for calling it out for what it is. It's all bullshit. Cancer on our country. And it's time in 49 days to eradicate the cancer. That's not a call to violence. It's a plea for liberation from this miserable, rotten, rancid era brought to us by this most immoral of men. There has never been a person more intellectually, psychologically, and morally unfit for national leadership than this orange-hued con man from Queens, New York, an adjudicated rapist, a con man, and a thug, a first-rate bully, a purveyor of violence. Let us pray for Donald Trump, that he may live a long life, free from the violence that he stoked and incited. All you need to ever know about this man is he called this disgrace a beautiful, perfect, peaceful protest. And you ought to think carefully about what it means in a free country when free people can be told by a leader in politics that what they clearly saw with their own eyes isn't so because the leader said it wasn't so. If you don't understand the danger at our door from the reality of scores of millions of our fellow countrymen who have been duped into believing this sick man, then you can't see danger. And this is the warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is the warning. And I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.